Great. Yes. Good afternoon, or good morning, I guess. Soon to be afternoon, feels like afternoon as long as we have been here. Welcome to the regular Board of Trustees meeting today, May 21st. Thank you to everybody for being here and to my fellow trustees, Dr. Overlander and your entire faculty staff that is here as we've endured a long morning so far, but I think it's been excellent. So I'd like to call this meeting to order, and Trustee Williams is going to lead us in the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Trustee Williams. Roll call, Ms. Henning, we do have a quorum. Additions and deletions to the agenda for Wednesday, May 21st. Any additions or deletions to the agenda? All right, here's none. I would request a motion to approve said agenda. Great. It has been moved by Trustee Anderson, seconded by Trustee Williams to approve the agenda for the regular Gillette Community College Board of Trustees meeting held today, Wednesday, May 21st. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Excellent. Moving on to the approval of the consent agenda for Wednesday, May 21st. Anything that anybody would like to have moved off, or if not?
If not, Chair McGrath, I'd be happy to make a motion to approve.
Excellent. Second. Great. So it has been moved by Trustee Wasberger, seconded by Trustee Smith. To approve the consent agenda for the regular GCCD Board of Trustees meeting held today, May 21st, 2025. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Great, motion carries. Well, good news from the trustees. Any good news from any of the trustees?
We had a lovely graduation.
Thank you.
Thank you to everyone on the faculty and staff contributed to making it a memorable occasion for our students.
Thank you. Good. We're going to give you a round of applause for that. We'll do a little bit more in a minute on that. Trustee Wasberger.
Celebrate another graduation, and that is of our daughter, Haley Anderson, who has been going to the University of Minnesota. And he graduated with her doctorate of nurse anesthesia. So huge accomplishment, and she can have made her dad and I any more proud. It's really touching.
Congratulations. Well done.
And then another thing I'd just like to share with you, because this means a lot to me. I have been selected to serve on the Wyoming Section 8 of the American Academy of Pediatrics as a Wyoming representative for the neonatal and fetal medicine subdivision or subgroup. So I'm very happy to serve on that, and my first meeting will be in June.
Well done. Well
Thanks.
done. So is your daughter going to go anesthetize the patients for your son?
Well, maybe someday. She actually has accepted a position at Billings Clinic and will be moving this fall. She has to complete all of her clinical hours yet before her diploma actually gets signed. So basically, she's free labor for the University of Minnesota for the next 3 months without getting paid, and then we'll get them moved closer to home, and I can play with that 3-year-old.
So following along the graduation spirit, we watched our youngest, our son, graduate, Robert IV, graduate with his Master's of Finance from
And university has a nice ceremony, but I don't think there's. Yeah, it was a fine ceremony, it had some nice speakers, but I think I'm very proud of the ceremony that we have. And next weekend, our oldest grandchild will be graduating from high school. So, it's graduation month.
Yes, it is.
Anybody else?
Well, upon graduation was a big deal at Prairie Rooster, my 6-year-old graduated in kindergarten. And you ought to see that. That's driven by curtain chairs.
Well, then I will finish with mine. My daughter who had tore her ACL is running and jumping again, so I'm excited for her. That's a big deal for her, so. Everyone's in and hope to be released. Anybody else, any good news? Well, I think we do have one final good news from the Board of Trustees and mainly from Gillette College, and it is this video. So if you guys will. Either end.
Thank you, Sam. We'd love to show this video. Oh, the audio. We're just getting the audio. Hold on. Yeah, that's what I'm copying. Shares the house. Share. Yeah, that's what I'm copying. Shares the house. Share. Yeah, that's what I'm copying. Shares the house. Share. Yeah, that's what I'm copying. Shares the house. Share. Yeah, that's what I'm copying.
feel like from me, that's why we do it. So
Yeah.
thank you very much. And that's it for the good news of the trustees. Moving on, organizational reports. President Oberlander, President's report.
Chair McGrath, trustees, thank you. We've had a very productive day and we've had a very productive couple of weeks. The chair and I have spent a lot of time together over the last couple of days, but we really appreciate all of your support and certainly our partners in Campbell County and in Gillette. We are very fortunate to have this beautiful college and very fortunate to have the ability to graduate over 220 students from this institution. So all the way from those just achieving their high school diploma, all the way through achieving their Associate of Applied Science and transfer degrees. So we're very proud of the work that we do here at Gillette College. So just very quickly, we've heard and talked about much of these topics in various settings. So I apologize if you're hearing this again for a couple of times. So we're headed into the summer months. One of the priorities I have given to my executive team is that you need to take some time off. This team has worked hard this year. They've been very productive and it's time for them to rest and rejuvenate. So this team is going to not be together much this summer because everybody's taking some time away. But we will come back together in July for our annual retreat. We'll be focusing on a couple of things as we begin to look beyond accreditation, really looking at our intentional pathways at Gillette College. What do those pathways look like? So from a student who comes as a high school graduate or finishing their GED, what is their pathway to a family sustaining career? And how are we making sure that we have reduced every possible barrier for that student to get from point A to the graduation field? And should they decide to transfer, have we made sure all the barriers are removed for them from our perspective? What does our advising models look like? All of those stages of the organization. So we'll be doing a deep dive into what we're doing organizationally. At the same time, we're going to be talking about future proofing. What does it look like from our organization to future proof so we're ready to take on the next roles that this college needs to do for our community. Also some strategic insights. And certainly we'll take some time to team build and look at our leadership skills as well. So that's coming up in July. As you are aware, we do have a visit, an HLC visit coming and officially making notice to the trustees that that visit will happen on October 27th and 28th. We do have the team. HLC has sent me the team of 5 peer reviewers. Typically there's only 3. There'll be 5 here for this candidacy visit. I have to approve those yet by the end of this week. So from the initial glance at the peer reviewers, there are no conflicts. So we'll be approving that here yet before the end of the week. But also we should be getting the schedule as well. Leading up to that, we'll do a mock review in August when our faculty return. That'll be very helpful. Some of our faculty and staff have never been through a review. So we'll be doing that. As we ended the year, we had 3 programs that worked through a new pilot of our program review. Those program reviews will happen every 3 years on a rolling basis. And so electrical biology and English took the dive and did a great job on a new program review process, which was much more data driven. And they did a really phenomenal job. And I will look forward to Dr. Spriggs when that process concludes coming and giving you a report on that. We have received the academic MOU. As you know, we have to annually or biannually sign an academic MOU with the Northern Wyoming Community College District. Dr. Spriggs is in review of that. And earlier today, I received the nursing MOU because we have to sign the agreement for ASIN. So we'll be signing those documents hopefully by the end of this week as well after we get a chance to review. Faculty Senate concluded their year and the same officers will remain in place going into the next calendar academic year. And so they have set a couple of focus areas. So really looking at how our committees that involve faculty are selected, who gets to sit on those and what is the rotation. So they'll be looking at that. That along with load and equity for faculty. In addition, we continue to review the procedure for overload pay for our faculty. We've been doing that this year. It's not concluded, so we'll continue that into the next year. Our faculty are also interested, our faculty senate are also interested in faculty leadership opportunities. So what does that mean within the organizational structure? How can we provide some leadership training for those faculty who are interested in moving into potentially a dean's role? So looking at some opportunities for that. They have asked for some Robert Rules of Training. We have a really good expert on our campus in Michael Carver, who is a math faculty who does a great job with Robert's Rules. So he can provide some of that training. And then they're really interested in the strategic plan and what their role is within the strategic plan. So from a high level view, that is the focus areas that the faculty senate have set for this next year. Our student senate has also elected their officers, and they'll begin planning in the summer months. Our district council has also elected their officers. The different councils have elected or reaffirmed officers. So going into the next year, all of our councils are full, faculty senate full, student senate full. So we'll go in with the full organizational governance structure into the next year. We are looking at some bookstore changes in the upcoming year, whether we can get these in place by the fall. Vice President Larson is working with our bookstore management company, Follett, to move from the model we have now to a per credit charge for books. And so per credit in some areas would be like $25 a credit. So a student, instead of paying $300 to $400 for a book, may only be paying $100 some odd dollars for a book. So we're still working out those details because of course financial aid is important. We want to make sure students are still able to use their financial aid to buy their books, make sure they can opt out of that. And the billing with Sheridan has to be worked out as well. So Vice President Larson is looking at that. And then of course the capital campaign work continues for the NZ building with the foundation. So we're finalizing some of the committees and of course continuing to lay out the goals for that campaign. And so with that, I think you have all heard enough from me over the last few weeks. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
The only thing I would ask for questions, President Oberlander spoke last night at the city council meeting and I thought did an absolutely outstanding job answering all their questions and working with them. And so I thought it was really, really well done. So any other questions for President Oberlander? Okay. Moving on, Gillette College Advisory Board Chair, Mr. Scott Durgan.
Good morning still, I guess, looks like. I did not attend the last meeting. I was actually in Jackson Hole for a summit that Rusty Bell and I attended, and that was really interesting. We got, there were several of us, and Jim Ford was there that talked a lot about Campbell County and trying to invest in Campbell County. So I thought that was pretty good. As far as the board meeting is concerned, President Oberlander came in, heard she did a great job, and talked about the weapons, the dangerous weapons policy. So they went over that. And then, like I talked about before, we have the two subcommittees, and the curriculum subcommittee is going to start up next week. And hopefully we can get the other one going in short order. Moving on. That's about it.
Okay, well, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Durgan? Okay, well done. Institutional Research Report, Roger Humphrey.
Thank you, President Oberlander, Chairman McGrath, members of the board. We just wanted to share a few things with the board in terms of some of the assessments. And thank you, President Oberlander, Chairman McGrath, members of the board. We just wanted to share a few things with the board in terms of some of the assessments. And
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
that's the first time I've heard myself speak. Thank you. Just wanted to share briefly one of the assessments that we've utilized. This is, if you're not familiar, it's referred to as the CESI. It's the Community College Survey of Student Engagement. It is given every other year in the fall, or excuse me, the spring of odd years. This is paid by the commission. And in 2023 was the first year that data was disaggregated from Sheridan and Gillette College. So it gave us a baseline of the data in terms of our campus and our students. It is a qualitative measure. It's about student perceptions from their student life experiences, their academic experiences, support services, and so forth. It's a standardized assessment. of about, I believe, over 250 community colleges across the country. It's been in place for quite some time. And so it gives us a good measure beyond just the numbers about the perceptions of students. And so Ellie, next slide. Thank you. So there are really 5 areas that are benchmarked. One is around what we call active and collaborative learning, student effort, academic challenge, student faculty interaction, and support for learners. And so there's a battery of 8 to 20 questions within each of these categories, and students rate their experiences. And so as you can see, the light blue are our benchmark scores that were collected from the spring of 23. And the dark blue are the top 10% nationwide. So it gives us an idea of how we compare with some of the higher scoring or the highly rated institutions. The line down the middle, the vertical line, is the 50th percentile. So in terms of the assessment, they normally, are you above or below the 50th percentile? And so you can see our baseline for 2023 with our students are those in the light blue. Okay. The next slide gives you an idea of some of the higher and lower areas. And so where did our students rate the institution at a high level, and where are areas that we have for improvement? And so you can see the light blue are our scores. I believe I'm trying to see my, could you make that a little bit? Thank you, Ellie. And then our cohort, and then these are the items. And so these were the areas that our students rated us the highest, making judgments about the value of soundness of information or arguments or methods. That's in the academic area. The applying theories, as you can see, or concepts in the academic challenge. Providing financial support for our students was rated high in terms of support for learners, preparing for class, studying, all the different types of things that faculty work with, their student effort, and then the frequency of academic in advising and planning. So those are areas that were rated by those students that were strong areas that we had in the college. Okay. The area down below are areas that where we have improvement, that were some of our lower rated areas in terms of presentations, okay, the number of assigned textbooks, manuals, in terms of academic challenge, the frequency of counseling, and, or excuse me, career counseling. And as we noted in the budget hearing, that's an area that was noticed and is being addressed, the frequency of peer or other tutoring and the frequency of computer labs. And so this information over the past year, and Dr. Spriggs can speak in his presentation, I believe next month, probably more in detail. But the question is, so how do you use this data? How does it fold over into the things that we do? Okay, how does it align with our strategic plan? And so as we look at these types of things, how is it incorporated both on the academic area and the student affairs area? We met this spring with both the direct ports of academics and student services and talked about being able to take this apart down by questions and frequencies and be able to use this fall. And then also we have the results from the 25 spring that we'll be able to compare. Did we make progress between 23 and 25? So this is just another piece of data, the real qualitative piece beyond just the numbers that we can utilize and leverage for improvement in the college.
That's great. It's nice to have that information.
I think just as the clarification piece, Chair, if I may, is this is still administered by the Northern Wyoming Community College District. But we do try to separate the population by Gillette College location versus Sheridan College location. So the data will get cleaner and cleaner as we separate further and further. And so one of our goals at Gillette College is to have more engagement in these types of surveys. So we're working on how can we make sure that students, one, are seeing it, but also completing the survey. So more to come, but it is good baseline data for us to start with.
Thank you, President Oberlander. That's an excellent point. This is administered through Sheridan, pushed through the students' emails, and they do a wonderful job of doing that, working with us. But I think as we move in the future, we can leverage that more in terms of the use of it and also trying to increase our participation of our students.
Trustee Anderson.
Chair McGrath, when will we get the results from the 25 spring?
Trustee Anderson, we will receive those typically about September or October.
Okay.
And that report goes directly to the president. And then she shares the link with me and then we're able to go in. And one of our goals this summer is to take all of the questions within all of those benchmarked areas and take those apart and see where our students' strengths are specifically by question. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
So one question that I would have for you, from an engagement standpoint, we all get a lot of surveys via email, all those kinds of things. Do we know what percentage of the students completed this as opposed, I guess?
That Chair McGrath, I need to double check on that. They typically, we look at about a 30% saturation on these. I will pull those together and see if I can get our actual, the amount that were sent and the actual number that completed.
That's great. Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
So our next piece, we talked about the program review and the changes, and I just wanted to share with you, this is our data set that we're sharing with our program reviews this spring. And so some of the things that we've worked with very closely with academics is defining that data set that will go into program review. And so these are numbers that were shared with industrial electricity. And again, we do not have the complete data set, but as we move forward, we'll continue. So we look at headcount within the major. We look at the number of students by FTE, which is adding up the number of credits and dividing that to determine FTEs, which is a critical piece as we move forward. We have what we call the annualized number 3 credit hour by program. And so this is adding up all the credits in that program by that prefix, which would be ELTR. And so as you can see, the number of FTEs equates to the number of enrolled credits. And this is at the end of the term, not at the beginning of the term. Okay, so it's a look back, but it gives them an idea of what those numbers are over a 5-year period. So they can see some trend data and the dips and valleys. And we all know academic year 2021 was impacted by COVID. So many of these will begin to see dips. Okay, we go into the annualized credits offered, number 3. Ellie, could you scroll up a little bit? Thank you. We look at the number of faculty. So what we do is we add up the number of credits with that course, or not that course, that program, and we divide it by 30. And so we can track the number of FTEs. How many faculty are incorporated? How many FTEs are in that program? And so this program is a combination of both the certificate and the AAS. The one we did with biology is specifically to biology. They just, these two programs intermix, so it's real difficult to try to pull those together. They're taught in both the certificate and the AAS. The next page looks at, in terms of, this is one that we're looking and collecting is, so how many students apply and how many of those students actually enroll? We're looking at matriculation into the program. And so what are our goals in terms of, are we getting students to enroll into the programs that have applied? And as you can see here, their numbers in terms of their matriculation sort of bounced around a little bit. We only were able to pull academic year 23 and 24. Just the data set doesn't allow us to do that with the blending of the Sheridan data. Okay. The next page goes into some of the program data around retention and completion. So what we're able to do is we look at the number of degrees conferred, and then we look at the retention rates. If you look at item 2 and 3, look at specifically a cohort of students. How many in that specific fall started and how many of them were there the next subsequent fall? We also look at fall to spring, which is number 3. So how many of them were enrolled in fall? How many of them continued to be enrolled in the spring? And so we're able to look at these over a 5-year period. These are students that are first time students to the institution and first time to the program. So sometimes you say, well, the numbers are low. That does not include a student that maybe changed their major and went into that program. So these are just brand new to Gillette College and brand new to the program. And so we're working on looking at, do we need to maybe change that metric a little bit? This metric matches how IPEDS reports out, but it does leave some students that are off the radar. Okay. Number 4 looks at their completion rate. This is to be determined. I'm working on those metrics to make sure, but we want to be able to look at the number of students that started in the fall of 19 and how many of them completed in the fall of 22. So that's one. As we move forward, we will continue to backfill those. Please jump in if you have any questions. The next section really looks at courses. In the courses, we look at the enrollment, we look at the completion. Completion is, did they complete the course, regardless if they passed it, but did they complete? We look at their success ratio, which is, Ms. Taylor talked about that this morning, about successful completion is one of the performance measures in the commission. So how many of the students percentage that received a C or higher? We look at the GPA mean of the course. We look at the withdrawals and we look at the course capacity. So if you look at just that first course, ELTR 1505, there were 28 students. There were 2 sections of that course. And so that actually those 2 sections, we exceeded the capacity. So it's information that faculty can use to look at not only enrollment, completion, do we see high withdrawal rates? Do we see low GPA rates? And then as we move forward, we're able to disaggregate this by age, gender, and ethnicity. That'll be added into that. So we'll begin to look at it even more granular by course. And so our next section, and this is what we're working on. Ellie, could you scroll down? As you can see, there's a lot of courses in the numbers. Our next section is that we're looking at within their student achievement data, and this is their program outcomes. So you can see what their outcomes are, and then what would be the percentage of students meeting or exceeding or not meeting those program outcomes. This is information that I hope to plug in to these reports moving forward, but this is another category. Our last category on this, go ahead and continue down, Ellie, thank you. This is one that we've put together, maybe shrink that a little bit. We're looking at job placement and trends. So we're looking at the Bureau of Labor Statistics data around the zip code, which is at the top of that category of students in that program. They're categorized as electrical and electrical technologists and technicians. So this gives a nationwide view of a 10 years trend in terms of employment, maybe growth, percentage of estimated jobs. And then if the data is available, depending upon at the state level, if the numbers are high enough, we're able to look at that from a state level. And then we also provide them national wage comparisons and state wage comparisons. So it really expands a more comprehensive look of our academic programs to be able to use that in that 3-year program review cycle. Other data that will be added into this will be graduate exit surveys by their program as we begin to build that.
Sorry, Mr. Humphrey, the 10, 25, 75, 90 percentile, what exactly does that mean in the year period? I mean, when you're talking your hourly wage, if you're in the upper 90th percentile, you're making 4832. Is that what that
Yeah,
means?
correct.
Okay.
What the Bureau of Labor Statistics breaks it down, what is the median and then the low range of salaries and the high range of salaries in those positions. And then they look at it also, then also at a monthly or a yearly, not monthly, but a yearly salary.
Essentially, the electrical department could use this as a recruiting tool to say, hey, you
Yes.
could, I mean, okay, there we go.
Yeah.
Talk.
That's a
Going back
great.
to Ellie's question, or, the discussion at the budget workshop, that from a recruitment standpoint, they can self-recruit, going into the high schools with this.
Chair McGrath, that's an excellent point. It's a great way to illustrate wage earnings and the potential if you complete the program and receive the certificate or the degree, what your potential wage earnings will be.
Excellent.
So
Okay.
we're continuing to build this. This is the data that we provide. We'll create each one of these for every program and program review. It's given to the academic areas and they're able to utilize it in their program review.
It's great information.
Okay.
Thank you. Questions, anybody?
Questions?
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Reminds me of, remember the type of things like, this is great information. Okay, moving on, Area 59 report, Ellen Peters. Well, it's now afternoon, so good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So you all asked me to come here and you asked me to talk about my favorite thing on the planet. And then you tell me I only have so much time to do it. So I am fortunate enough to have managed to not be selected by the jury panel yesterday, so I could actually do this for myself. As a representative of Area 59, we're so grateful to be able to have this information to share with you. So just recently, our advisory board has reconvened and been meeting. If we can flip that slide, please. We've established ourselves as an education center. So we wrote our mission statement, and everything that we do at Area 59 moving forward will be filtered through this mission statement. Area 59 is a community education space whose mission is to inspire creativity and innovation by providing an inclusive space for learners of all ages to bring their ideas to life. By offering access to cutting-edge tools, mentorship, and hands-on opportunities, we empower individuals to develop critical thinking and technical skills. And put into everyday common usage language, we get to see people at their very most creative, at their biggest failures, and then at their most amazing successes. So if you take a look at the scrolling slides, you'll see all of the amazing things that are going on at Area 59. Starting up there in the left-hand corner, we have a number of folks who come in and use our design center. We have computers and we have the software available for folks to be able to use it. Starting there as the foundation for our program, for many of the things that we do, people can take their projects from one place to another. The top second panel is our plasma table. Third table there, third picture is also our plasma table. We've got a banner maker, we've got 3D printers, we've got routers, we've got all sorts of exciting things. But probably my favorite things that are going on right now are those two pictures that show Dr. Maschio in a virtual reality headset. And then one of our staff members actually in a headset right up above that. We're in the position to be able to embrace technology, cutting edge a little bit quicker, just because of what we do. So we've had the opportunity to have Dr. Maschio come in and she's been using virtual reality as a tool in her classroom. And we get the opportunity to work with her with that. So she's coming in and being able to download apps or be able to take a look at things for ways to integrate that into the classroom technology. One of the things that we see Area 59 being a very large piece of the recruiting tool for the college is being able to show folks, hey, we've got this really cool stuff and we're using it in our classrooms. And we're using it in our classrooms because we've got professors or instructors like Dr. Maschio coming in and figuring out how to do that. And then the top picture there actually is an opportunity for us to train other people on our staff, our faculty and staff. So we hosted a Just Come VR with Us event and gave people an opportunity to get inside a headset. Most of the people who had been in our space or who had never, ever been inside a virtual reality headset. And I wish you could have seen some of the other things that were going on there, because not only are they learning something really exciting, but then our faculty and staff are working together to bring new opportunities to the college. We have students that come in, we have community members that come in, and we've even started working with the school district on a pretty close level. So I mentioned community benefits of Area 59, and these are just some of the things that have been going on there. The WISE group, ABLE has been in, Creative Aging Partnership with the library, community classes. We had HDR host an engineering day with us. And then of course, our Verizon Innovative Learning STEM Achievers program. So the WISE program stands for Women in STEM Enrichment Program. This was a grant that we received through the Wyoming Women's Foundation, 3 years running, to expose girls in grades 4 through 8 to more opportunities with STEM careers. Coincidentally, most of those STEM careers have a counterpart here at the college. So those girls got a chance to be able to see and do things in an all-girl environment, which is a really valuable piece of the program for that. And then be able to see where that technology applies and opportunities to be able to study further here at the college. Lately, for the past several months, starting in about January, Achievable Beyond Limited Expectations reached out to us and said, we'd love for you all to do things with our clients. These are folks in the Gillette area who are perfectly capable of doing lots of things. They just don't often get the opportunity to do so. And so we've had a chance once or twice a month to have folks come in and build with us. So we've been building things out in the shop, but we've also done things in the classroom that gave them an opportunity to explore with technology. The toolboxes were a really big hit, in case you couldn't tell from the smiles on their faces. Over the past couple of years, we've built a relationship with the school district, which has been a huge piece of helping us grow at Area 59. This year and last year, we were able to see every second grader in the entire school district. We share with them a story called Someone Has to Build It. So you can have a huge number of folks who are interested in becoming architects and becoming engineers and becoming all of these amazing STEM careers, but somebody has to build the things that they're talking about, right? The things that they design. And so we share that story with them. And then through a series of stations, the second graders get an opportunity to participate in hands-on experiences with, in this case, machines and gears and programming robots. So we talk a lot about how machines versus the efficiency of men or people in doing particular jobs at just the second grade level. So think 7 and 8 years old are now seeing some of the really cool things that they have to look forward to. And we finished that off with a demonstration of the robotic arm that we have in the classroom, the robotic arms that we have in the classroom. And then we make the leap over here and let them know that that same robot is here in our welding program, and that same robot exists at L&H right behind us, to be able to see that that technology is right here in Gillette. And often we get a second grader who goes, my dad does that, or my mom does that, which is a pretty exciting connection for them. Our fourth graders, a good majority of the fourth graders in the school district have had the opportunity to fly drones through our program. It's written into the Campbell County curriculum for students to learn about piloting drones as an energy transformation. And that's a hard thing to do. If you don't know how to fly a drone, you don't know how to fly a drone. We know how to fly drones. So we have their teachers come in, we're doing teacher workshops, but we're also doing workshops with the fourth graders. And in doing so, we bring them right here on campus. Actually, more often than not, they're right out there in that flex space. And so they're seeing the college students coming and going and looking at them and going, wow, that could be me someday, which is a pretty exciting prospect. Lastly, we wrap up with our sixth graders as specific field trips. And our sixth graders actually start here in this building. They run through a program in the virtual reality training lab upstairs, and then they spend some time in the classroom seeing how that virtual reality technology can be useful to them. And most recently, we've had the opportunity to dissect a frog virtually. If you've never done that before, having taught it, it smells so much better than having to do it in reality. But all of those things point those kids in kind of that pipeline, looking at, hey, Gillette College is not just that place across the bridge from us. We have developed a good relationship with the folks at the public library as well, with creative aging. So for the past 3 years, the library has written a grant through the Wyoming Library Foundation. And then they've subcontracted out to us. And we've had the opportunity to have a group of 10 to 15 seniors come in and learn a skill that builds. And so they start out with the inevitable walking in the door going, I don't know how to turn the computer on. And they leave us with a variety of projects. And the picture that's down in the front at the center, all those smiling, happy faces, they made their own cutting boards. They made them from start to finish. And I think everybody has a good time. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
We have a blast. It's one of the most fun groups that we have that comes in. Gives us an opportunity to reach more members of the community that way. We continue to offer our community classes. We refer to them as maker classes. And those are a variety of things, and whatever is the hottest thing coming up lately. Our stained glass class always sells out, but we're always on the lookout for new projects. And so we were able to partner this year and in years past for a My Grown Up and Me class with the Welded Rose. So we've got community members with their kiddos coming in and safely learning how, by one of our college instructors, to weld together a flower. One more opportunity for this community to see our college in action. And they're in the lab doing that. I can't tell you the number of pictures that I get sent to me after it's over. And in fact, Geneva over in student service, she brought her 2 boys and they said that was the coolest thing that they have done ever. And so we just kind of get an opportunity to do all of those things. The last class that's listed up there about photography, we received a grant using the optional 1% tax through the rec mill that will be kicking into gear here shortly. It's called the Teen Technology Scene. And the very first class that we'll be offering will be free to high school age students. We did this in conjunction with both high schools, getting information from them. They're struggling to get folks in their yearbook, on their yearbook staff. I'm like, why? They don't want to take pictures the way they need to take pictures in order to get them in the yearbook. So we did develop this class specifically with that in mind, transitioning from your smartphone to using a real DSLR camera, which is the kind of format that they need to be putting in their yearbook. So we'll be offering that here soon with our grant. HDR Engineering Day. It isn't often that you get an email where somebody says, we'd like to give you some money. And that's exactly what happened with HDR. So much so that I looked at it and went, yeah, right. I ignored it at first. And then something just kind of clicked in the back of my head and I called the phone number. HDR is a local engineering firm and international besides, but they said, we get philanthropic opportunities through the national corporation. We'd like to help you. So with the help of HDR, they were able to upgrade our classroom with new tables and new chairs, which were desperately needed in there. And then they sponsored an event called HDR STEM Engineering Day. We reached out to Twin Spruce Junior High because Twin Spruce happens to have a little bit higher need than our other junior high. And we were able to have 25, we actually had about 35 students apply. They had to fill out an application. They had to write a short essay, and then they had to justify why they should be allowed to miss school for a day to come spend the day at Area 59. They spent their day at 6 different workstations learning about different engineering projects, then got the opportunity to eat lunch with the engineers in our classroom, and then wrapped that up with a question and answer panel for the engineers and before they headed back to school. And they got really cool t-shirts that we made to boot. So, there's that. And finally, our Verizon Innovative Learning STEM Achievers Camp. I am in full swing of planning for this right now. It starts in a week and a half. We're still accepting campers. If you know anybody, we'd love to have them. This program gives our campers an opportunity to be here on campus. And this summer, they're going to be here in the Tech Ed Center, 4 weeks, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And they spend all day with us doing, not just learning, but doing technology and other STEM-based activities. So this year we will expose them to 3D printing and modeling. We will expose them to artificial intelligence and robotics, electrical circuits and coding, and augmented and virtual reality. And the 5th piece of the program this year, this was a pretty big deal for us. 2 years ago, our program decided that we'd go a little rogue, and we have that permission to be able to do so from the program. And we brought drones into the camp atmosphere. And it was a big hit. And it was such a big hit that the national program heard about it. And this year, for the very first time, all 46 programs across the United States will also incorporate drones into their programming because they saw it was so successful here. Those are the opportunities that some of the students in, or some of the kids in Gillette are getting to participate in. And it makes us pretty excited that we're leading the nation in that too. So
What's the ages for the Verizon again?
that is rising 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. So if you have a 5th, 6th, or 7th grader this year. There's lots of other things going on at Area 59. And the best thing that I can say to you is come see. We have all kinds of stuff to share.
Any
Questions for me?
Start with anybody else. Any questions for Ellen? Do you happen to know approximately in 24 how many people came through your doors?
Off the top of my head, no, but I do have the numbers. Is it Dr. Oberlander? Are you looking it up?
I think it was around 1,200.
Yeah, we've grown considerably. I do know that when I took over in 2021, it was unusual to get out of the teens in a month visit. We routinely serve over 100 unique individuals each month now. And that's unique individuals. That's not you come in and you're working on a project for several days in a row, but that's 100 different people.
Congratulations. Well
Thank
done.
you. Very well done. It's very valuable for our community.
Absolutely.
This is incredible.
Thank you
Thank
for all your enthusiasm.
You pay me to play with toys. I have the best job on the campus. I have absolutely no doubt.
It shows.
Any other questions? Well, Ellen, thank you very much for all you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to old business. Second and final reading, policy 2000.5, institutional review board, Dr. Oberlander.
Chair McGrath, trustees, this is the second and final reading of this policy. There have been no changes to this policy since first reading.
Any questions or thoughts from anybody on 2000.5?
I move to approve.
Thank you. So it's been moved by trustee Smith, second by trustee Anderson to approve the second and final reading of policy 2000.5, institutional review board. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carried. All right. Moving on to new business. The first reading of policy 3000.36, dangerous weapons policy, Dr. Oberlander.
Chair McGrath, trustees, as you are aware, we have a new state statute as enacted by House Bill 175, which is now referred to as the Wyoming Repeal Gun-Free Zones Act. There has been significant amount of work to prepare this policy along with the procedures, which the board typically does not review procedures. However, we are presenting you those procedures today along with this policy. So the initial drafts of this policy were created through a collaboration with other community colleges in the state. Those two drafts were brought back. Our legal counsel reviewed those and has significantly changed those drafts to see what's in front of you now. The policy that you have in front of you very closely aligns with the policy at the University of Wyoming. And it addresses the statute to the limit that we are allowed to address this statute. And so we are happy to answer questions. We're happy to go through the procedure as in depth as you would like. But I would ask legal counsel Horning to also give his insight and his input to this policy that you're reviewing on first read today.
Thank you, President Oberlander. Mr. Chairman, I guess what I would do in order to prompt any further questions you may have, just to give a brief summary of what House Bill 172 really does provide for with regard to community colleges. So distilled down to its essence, the statute says that there will be concealed carry of firearms in college facilities for those persons with a concealed carry permit issued by the state of Wyoming. And that's considerably narrower than what is otherwise permitted generally with regard to concealed carry. The statute then goes on to provide that it does not allow concealed carry in those parts of college facilities where explosives or volatile materials are present. And then of unique importance to the college is that it does allow the college to require its employees and students to store firearms in a concealed biometric container or a lockbox within that person's direct control at all times when not being carried on their person. And then lastly, within that, the college is not allowed to prohibit storage of firearms or ammunition in campus housing or require firearms to be stored unloaded or separate from their ammunition. So the approach by the statute is that, as I said, it begins with there will be concealed carry of firearms in college facilities for persons with a Wyoming permit. From there, frankly, the college, the district is given very little authority to do much of anything. And actually, it's college is allowed to do exactly what I just said. There is a statute at the conclusion of the relevant chapter where the legislature reserves for itself, just the legislature reserves for itself sole authority to regulate transportation use, manufacture, possession, transportation, wearing of firearms. No other political subdivision, no one other than the legislature is allowed to regulate any of those. So you've been given a niche in which you are to regulate or may regulate within those confines I just said, but you are expressly prohibited beyond that. There's other rules regarding concealed carry that are essentially embedded within the Wyoming permit or in other areas of the law. Oh, they are incorporated in this proposal just by virtue of if you have a Wyoming permit, you already know the rules of concealed carry. So they didn't need to be further addressed in here. And again, you have no authority or ability to affect those. So having said that, I would pause and rather than go off, if there's any questions or anything I might be able to clarify, I would welcome your questions.
Trustee Paul?
And thank you for that, Mr. Horning and President Orlander. Having had the opportunity to sit on this committee that looked at this, it's important that we get this done, directed by the governor and by legislature to do this. Other community colleges, I think the news record reported on Northwest has going through this process. Every college has to do this by July 1st. The only real comment I have, and based upon what Mr. Horning just said, is I find that the second paragraph is duplicative. And what I mean by that is we have to follow the law. And as Dave has said, we're required to follow the law. And so we've already done that in the first paragraph. And so to actually have the second paragraph, I guess I'm just looking at trying to streamline this as best our policies as we just adopted the earlier one on institutional. They're pretty streamlined. And so to go into additional detail when the law and the statute already covers the second paragraph, I just find it duplicative. I would consider that or ask the trustees to kind of just removal of that because it's covered.
Fair enough. And if you're going to do that, the first part of the first paragraph, in my opinion, I don't think needs to be there, which is the board is charged with. To me, it is the board policy that no dangerous weapons. I don't know that first part needs to be in there because we don't have to declare what we're doing with the policy. That is what we're doing. Let's just state what our policy is, which it is the board's policy that no dangerous weapons may be carried. So from my perspective, I agree with Trustee Palmer. And also just it's our policy and that's what we're adopting. We don't have to identify that it's our job to define a policy.
So Chair McGrath, just for clarification, it's the first two sentences of the policy that you'd like.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Stricken.
Start with, it is the
Take it
board
out.
policy. Yep. And then if it's the board's pleasure, then to remove nothing in this policy shall be, so the entire second paragraph. Unless legal counsel Horning has other thoughts on that.
Mr. Chairman, I discussed this again with Trustee Palmer earlier. It would not in any way, shape or form affect the efficacy of your policy. It is, and I appreciate what he said and he's correct in that that's the law. So it is duplicative in that sense. Right? So it does not affect your policy if it's going to be removed at all.
Perfect. Thank you for that clarification.
And Mr. Chairman, I'm also remiss, if I can have just another second. I overlooked another important element of the new statute is that the district is given the authority to prohibit open carry on campus or within its facilities. And this proposed policy addresses within your facilities, and this would prohibit open carry within your facilities. So no one comes in the door of your facilities without a Wyoming permit, and it has to be concealed.
So my next question then would be the last sentence, that this president shall adopt procedures and for the implementation of this policy. That's normal to our policies that the president and you implement procedures. So do we want that in there, or do we want that as part of this so that people know, hey, as part of our policy, it gives the president the right to do that? Any thoughts on that? So the last paragraph. I'm not sure it is
Thanks.
germane as trustee Palmer uses from time to time to our actual policy. So I don't know.
It does address storage of firearms, which is alluded to earlier, but not specifically mentioned. So I
Okay,
don't like that last paragraph.
you do like it, you said. Okay, great. Trustee Wasberg, you had another question.
This is probably really ridiculous, but the last sentence of the first paragraph, I would just propose, I think grammatically, it's easier to read. Permit and permitted is in there, two different noun and verb or whatever it would be. Instead of the ending with is permitted, is granted, is allowed. Can we use, so we don't have permit basically in twice in one sentence? I think an English major would probably be able to determine that, but it just read off to
Except
me.
for
last night.
one is a noun and one is a verb. That's the only
Right.
reason that I would,
Yeah.
that
I'm just wondering, can we use another verb? like
I'm
allowed?
gonna defer to legal counsel Horning on the word permitted.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, in defense of the president and the board of trustees, we didn't write the statute and
Oh, that's how it's, the
approach
statute.
was to hew as closely as possible to the syntax and
Okay.
verbiage of the statute. So on a personal note, I would sympathize with your request, but
Legally,
I think the approach was to try and hew as closely to the statute, realizing permitted.
So statutory
Understood.
language.
Okay,
It is not exactly the wording of the statute, but the permit and permitted do appear frequently within.
okay. So as far as the policy is concerned, we've made some changes. Does anybody have any questions regarding the procedures, given that this is?
If I was to walk into Dr. Overlander's office with a firearm, do I have to show a permit? Do I have to have a permit on me that I've gone through the state of Wyoming?
Only if the police asks is what,
Only if the police ask.
is that what?
Can I ask? Can I
Mr.
ask?
Chairman, Trustee Williams, the police may have occasions when they are allowed to ask. I believe the way this plays out is you are not.
Correct.
You can't see it, you don't know about it, you have no reason or right to inquire. Is the way I think it plays out.
So understand that it has to be concealed, which means you can't see it.
Yeah,
You know, and this did give us the ability to not allow open carry on the campus.
That is correct.
So that's the difference, is if you walked in with a firearm, Dr. Overlander then could say something, but concealed, technically, you're not gonna know about it, and
If I can see your weapon in my office, it's no longer concealed, and we would follow our normal policies and procedures and our sanctions.
great answer. Other questions? Good question, trustee Williams.
I have a minor one. What is the explosive or volatile material in the rodeo egg building?
Chair McGrath, trustee
Yes.
Anderson, they have welding equipment.
Okay.
Any other questions on this?
Just on the policy,
Yes, sir.
no.
Then I would look for a motion to approve the first reading with the changes of the policy 3000.36 dangerous weapons policy.
So moved
Second.
with the changes that were described.
Removal of the first two sentences in paragraph 1 and removal of the second paragraph.
Yes, ma'am. Did you get that?
Yep.
Ellie, okay. So it has been moved by trustee Palmer and seconded by trustee Wasserberger to approve the first reading of policy 3000.36 dangerous weapons policy, removing the first two sentences of the first paragraph and the entire second paragraph. Any discussion?
Chair McGrath.
Yes, please.
I would just remind the trustees that as a campus, we have been preparing for this since prior to the legislative session. We knew this policy, this bill would be passed without a veto. And so we've started working with the campus prior to session. We have started active armor training. We will continue to have trainings across the campus throughout eternity. And so our risk manager continues to be heavily involved in this process. And so we'll just keep working with our campus to ensure that they understand and know what their resources are.
Excellent. And quickly before the vote, on that committee did include Police Chief Deaton, several legislators, legal counsel, a few trustees. So it was well vetted and well went through and did a very nice job with it. So
I would add the board governance committee also had a chance to review.
excellent. Any other questions? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Excellent.
Mine's plans like.
Oh, again, and the reason for the procedures on there is because it is such a, I don't think big deal is the right word, because it's new and it's handed down by the legislative body. And so we wanted to define and that this board understood what some of the procedures coming forward from Dr. Overlander and some of those folks.
Yeah, transparency.
Yes. And obviously this will be made public and, available or is made available.
Once you approve on second read, it'll go up on our website with all.
Excellent. Thank you for that, trustee. Moving on to colleague invoice, Vice President Larson.
Good afternoon, Chair McGrath and trustees. We have, as you recall, entered into an agreement with colleague, and we pay through Wyoming Community College Commission every single year. We have a 6-year contract for the colleague enterprise system administrative package. So our bill is about 350 and then another 20,000 for support, getting to a total of $373,691. And we are requesting your approval to make that payment to the Wyoming Community College Commission.
I so move.
Excellent, thank you.
Second.
Excellent, thank you. So it has been moved and by trustee Anderson, second by trustee Williams to approve $373,691 for the colleague Elution annual subscription covering July 1st, 2025 through June 30, 2026, per the original 5-year agreement. Any discussion? Yes, please.
Mr. Chairman, thank you, Vice President Larson. So this amount that we're being invoiced from the Wyoming Community College Commission, is this a similar amount that the other 7 community colleges are also paying?
I'm not privy to their agreement, but yes, I am confident that the numbers are pretty similar. I don't know what they base it on. I think it has to do with number of users and we're in the cloud, so probably a little bit different structure, but yes,
And is this a state reimbursable expense?
yes.
So this is an expense that the other 7 community colleges get reimbursed on, and we do not.
Right.
Thank you.
A great point, and I appreciate that.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or thoughts? All right, hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Moving on, final housing payment for the city of Gillette, Vice President Larson.
Yes, great. Thank you. So also in your packet is a copy of the invoice from the city of Gillette that represents our last debt payment to them for $245,000, $245,516. This is the only long-term debt on our balance sheet, so we will have none after we pay this. Pretty
Yay.
exciting.
Excellent.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the final housing payment to the city of Gillette and retire all bonded debt by the district.
Thank you. It has been moved by trustee Palmer, seconded by trustee Smith to approve $245,516.41 for the final housing payment to the city of Gillette. Any discussion?
And I would just, I guess, Mr. Chairman, if I might, and just thank you to the city of Gillette for working with us and for helping this come together and bringing this to closure like it has.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Good partnership.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Vice President Larson, moving on to
Okay.
MOA.
Great, well, thank you.
Oh, it's money, money, money.
Well, this isn't actually for writing a check. This is approval to enter into an addition to the original contract that we signed with MOA for $663,000 plus some travel expense to get to the next stage of engineering, design, development. So you have the agreement in your packet, but any questions on that?
Jim McGrath.
Yes, please.
Vice President Larson, would you just clarify, so on page 3 of this agreement, what the trustees are only approving today is the design development of that 663,000 plus that extra for travel expense. They're
Correct.
not approving that full amount,
Correct,
construction documents, bidding, that type of.
correct. And we're not making a payment. We will be invoiced for that, but this is to enter into the next phase of it, and that is what the cost will be. Roughly.
Okay, thank you. If I may, in the reimbursable expenses, that amount is 75,000. Am I wrong in that?
It's on page 3.
Page 3, the reimbursable allowance is 75,000. You're asking for 25, so I just want to make sure.
Well, I thought it said
I don't know. Could
25,
be the
so
total.
my mistake, but I think that would be through the whole, yes.
Right, that was for both scopes of work, construction documents and DD. So
Okay.
just for DD, it was 25,000.
So we will ask for that correction or clarification on the
Right.
contract before we sign it.
Yes,
Correct.
yes.
Okay,
Good catch. Thank you, trustee.
thank you. Thank you, Mr. Wolf. Okay, I would entertain a motion to request a motion, $663,041 and up to $25,000 in reimbursable expenses for the design development with MOA Architecture.
So move.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, next. It's been moved by trustee Williams, second by trustee Anderson to approve $663,041 and up to $25,000 in reimbursable expense for the design development with MOA Architecture. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Vice President Larson, moving on.
Great, thank you, trustees. For a trailer purchase, I've asked Marty to come in and talk about this. We're looking for some trailers to store the items that were in the area where Energy City Voices is moving their practice area into. All the stuff that happens with graduation and other events that go on there, stored in that area that they're moving into. So we're looking, and this was part of our original presentation, that we would need someplace to store. So if you have any other questions about the trailers specifically, Marty can help you answer them.
The only question I have, if I may, is that the 3 trailers on the invoice at 21,250 add up to 63,750, not 63,000. Is that?
Get a discount.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we are.
That particular vendor had said they could do 63 even.
Okay,
We went with 3, but comparable pricing was about 21,000.
excellent. So I just want to make sure we're not shorting you $750 that you got to come back here. So, okay.
Are we talking about trailers with wheels?
Yes, sir.
We are.
Yes.
Motion. Request a motion for 3 movable trailers. Correct. We're buying 3 trailers.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Trustee Smith had the question. He wasn't sure and I appreciate that. So just for clarification, 3 trailers, 21,000 apiece, $63,000.
So Chair McGrath, I'd like to make a motion to go ahead and move forward with to approve up to $63,000 to purchase the 3 pole trailers.
Thank you. Somebody, one second.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, it's been moved by trustee Wasberger and second by trustee Anderson to approve up to $63,000 to purchase 3 bumper pole axle trailers through Absolute, I'm not gonna say that, for double pole axle trailers. Any discussion?
Yes.
Yes.
Was it looked at the box storage units? Is there, I know they're permanent, so they don't have wheels, but is there a?
We're tight on space across campus. We will have 3 by the end of the summer. We have a 20-foot container coming for student housing. We've got 2 40-foot boxes out the back. It'll make it look like a shipping yard, maybe. But the trailers will help with moving equipment around. We can roll right up to the back door and unload.
Okay, thank you. I knew someone's gonna ask me something.
Could it, and for further on that, then they can be used in the future if your, soccer team's headed down the road, needs to pull a trailer full of equipment or what, we see that at least in my day with the baseball crew, we had to pull a trailer with all of our stuff in it, for that purpose. So maybe down the road, there's other multi-purpose. Okay,
Chair McGrath.
yes, please. Trustee Palmer.
Mr. Chairman, thank you, President Holbert. That was my question too. So when and if we get additional storage space, could these be utilized for something else? Yes, it sounds like it can be.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
That concludes Vice President Larson's request for money. Moving on, the ratification of a foundation member for Barb Pilon, Dr. Oberlander.
Chair McGrath, trustees, before you have Ms. Pilon's bio, and she has been approved by the foundation board to become a new member. And so we are seeking your ratification for this outstanding individual to join the foundation board of the Gillette College Foundation Board.
I would make a motion to ratify that new foundation board member.
Second.
It has been moved by trustee Palmer and seconded by trustee Anderson to ratify the new foundation member for Barb Pilon. Actually, hold on, I can never see her. Or do we just, yeah, okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Excellent. Ratification carries. Sorry, moving on. Moving on to the committee reports, we're gonna start with WACT and the WCCC. Trustee Smith.
I'm sorry that trustee Day couldn't be here to help. We did have WACT and the commission on campus. And there's some great meetings, some talk on the mood for increasing tuition, which went nowhere, thankfully. And also, it was briefly mentioned earlier, Ms. Taylor here at the WACT on what's going on in Washington DC with Pell Grants and what is it called? Sharing something?
Risk sharing.
Risk sharing. And she's drafted a letter. She mentioned it this morning. I had copies of it. Is it up somewhere
It was included in
in the packet?
the packet.
But WACT is formed through the executive committee. We formed a letter to be sent to Representative Hageman, and then there was also some information that went out on how to contact them, how to ask questions to them, where they are, representing us in Washington. So that's just some of the work that WACD is trying to get done to help, because the Pell Grant thing is going to make a difference to students, and community colleges are most at risk of this legislation. So that's my report.
Excellent. Any questions for trustee Smith?
Chair McGrath, trustees, I would just add that the next Wyoming Community College Commission will be in Powell on the 5th and 6th of June. So if anybody's interested in making the trip across the mountain with me, just let me know.
And speaking of that, they'll be in the mode for a new executive director.
Yes, the Wyoming Community College Commission has launched or is preparing to launch their search for a new executive director. Dr. Lawrence has tendered his resignation at the end of this month. I believe they have accepted, the Wyoming Community College Commissioners are accepting nominations or interests for an interim director. And I believe that's due by the end of the month to that committee as well, to that commission as well.
And President Oberlander, Aaron did share with me that they actually have interviews already set up.
For an interim, for interim,
That's what she told me this morning.
I imagine they do, so.
Excellent. Okay, moving on to Bochi's update, Trustee Anderson.
Again, trustee day isn't here to share with me, so. Mr. Wasberger, you can jump in if I mess up anything.
Okay.
You may have noticed at graduation, we had 24 students who earned their associate degrees before getting their high school diplomas. 2 of those students earned 2 degrees. So that was exciting. Our summer dual enrollment for 2024 was 105 students. For 2025, we're up to 175 students. So that's exciting. Our Bochi's preliminary budget estimates, we're looking at about $2.2 million from Bochi's, which is about $100,000 less because of the CDL equipment they were doing. And we budgeted more $370,000, which is $70,000 more than last year for tuition and fees for Pronghorn Advantage and current enrollment.
Excellent. Mr. Wasberger, anything you'd like to jump up and add, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Let me start with this. As a guy that played for Sage Valley football for you, I'm a little disappointed by the tie today, but we'll stop there.
Go Twins Warriors.
Thank you, thank you. You know, Mr. Chairman, I went to the right side later in my career and I was the AD at Twin Spruce for 16 years. So I got a lot of blue and gold.
Okay,
If Peg was here, she'd sing pipes.
I digress. Anyway, Mr. Wasberger.
Well, Mr. Chairman, we do have some other numbers for calendar year 2024 in our Kickstart Your Medical Career Program. We had 47 students take the CNA class and we had 36 actually pass the national accreditation and then become licensed certified nurses. Okay, so that's kind of an amazing thing. But what that means to us here at the college is then I start them on a medical career of classes, which starts out with medical terminology, then it goes to principles of nutrition, general psychology. Then I have them take human anatomy at their high schools. They do anatomy and physiology 1 and 2 as high schools seniors. And so they're ready to be nurses and to start the program. And then we access the Journey Scholarship for a lot of our students. Trustee Anderson was talking about the 2 girls that had 2 degrees. One of those girls actually she had 84 credits, which is a record. And she was accepted at Montana State University. She has just 3 semesters before she will be eligible to graduate. She's already been accepted to law school at the University of Toledo, which this young lady's a bulldog. You want to stay away from her because she's gonna be a handful someday, and she's very talented. Also on May 12th and 13th, we had our dual language immersion students take their test at Twin Spruce Junior High. There were 56 of those students. And the early returns on that assessment is that they have done very, very well. Remember, that's a flats test. It's what we called a CLEP test years ago through Brigham Young University. And they're tested in Spanish on their reading, their language, their writing, and then also how well they listen to Spanish. So they can get either 8 or 12 credits. Okay, and so not this meeting do I have the final results on that, but I will have them for our meeting, not the budget hearing, but the one after that. Also, we talked about the 24 students that graduated from Gillette Community College. Last meeting, we said that we would do exit interviews. I have completed all those exit interviews. Mr. Roger Humphrey wrote the exit interviews instrument, and 22 of those students have taken that. One of those students was actually not here. She was on a mission in Australia. So there was one student that I didn't get to. Our budget hearing is coming up July 16th at the Educational Services Center. We are setting our dates for MSHA program, and typically that's in the fall, and we'll have between 40 and 60 students involved in that. And finally, our CDL program, I have written 28 scholarships for students. And of course, those are for only graduates of a Campbell County high school. And they have 1 year to complete that scholarship. So they have to do all the things that they need to, which is get a complete physical from the Department of Transportation or the Department of Transportation, but then also a urinalysis test. And then they have to go through the steps to get enrolled here in our CDL class. And so I think that that's everything that Trustee Anderson and I know about what's going on with coaches.
I have one question for you.
Yes, sir.
Is this the first time we've ever had, to your knowledge, a student complete 2 degrees? And of course, we had 2, or have other years, has there been other people that have done that?
Well, I don't think that she had 2 degrees, but there was a young lady by the name of Therese Kubacher, just an exceptional young lady, but she graduated about 3 or 4 years ago. She had 76 credits. This year, we had 2 students beat that. The 2 students that had the double degrees.
Well, as a father of 2 kids that are currently in the, dual concurrent, it is an amazing program. So thank you.
Thank you.
Very much appreciate that. Thank you. Trustee Anderson, thank you for that report as well. Public comments, I didn't see anybody. Does anybody out there have any public comments? Hearing none? Yes, sir.
Are you gonna go through the upcoming events then too before we hit?
I think I will, yes, if that works. We are going to move into executive session here shortly, but before that, June 16th is the College National Finals Rodeo. There is a Slack watch party at 9 a.m. in Casper. I know that Dr. Overlander, Trustee Smith are always very heavily involved. Our women are ranked not only #1 in the region, but #1 in the country. So we're sending 8 athletes, which is a full women's team, and yet four men as well. So we'll hope for good things for them. June 17th is, of course, our public budget hearing right here in this room, 5:30 p.m. July 16th, we will be in Wright, the trustees board meeting, and it's always an enjoyable trip. August 8th is the Joint College Foundation Golf Scramble. I do know they're looking for teams, so if anybody's interested. I think that is it, unless there's any other events that anybody else has. Ellie, I just want to say thank you for always putting up and getting us through, maneuvering through the technology that is cumbersome, but yet kind of thrown at you last minute. So thank you for all you do back there, you and Maggie. So well done. Having said that, I would request a motion to move into executive session pursuant to state statute 16-405, 2 and 3 and 9 on matters concerning personnel, litigation, and attorney-client privilege. No action will be taken. So for those that are not here, or that, yeah, thank you. So it's been moved by Trustee Wasberger, second by Trustee Anderson to enter an executive session pursuant to 16-405, 2, 3, and 9 in matters concerning personnel, litigation, and attorney-client privilege. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. We will take a quick 5-minute break before we do that.